Hey guys, welcome. This video is going to be a little bit of a departure from the normal Mustang truck videos that I've been doing recently. My kids actually have a couple of these four-wheeler, power wheel type of vehicles, and recently one of the vehicles, maybe you guys have experienced this, is when we use the remote control, there was sort of like a snapping sound that would happen, and really the steering wheel would not turn. You could turn it with the steering wheel itself, but when you tried to use the remote control and the motor to try to turn the steering wheel, it wasn't working. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you guys through how I kind of figured out what the problem was, diagnose it, and attempt to try to fix it. So I'm just quickly going to show you guys the power wheels in question. Is this guy right here. It's on its back because I was taking out the motor. So the steering motor actually goes up inside here. So this is where the steering column rod goes through, but the motor itself fits up in that pocket. So that's why this is on its back. We have two other ones over here that the kids like to ride. But let's come back over here and talk you guys through kind of what we're doing and what we have. So here is the original steering motor. And what you'll find, or what you'll see here, and this is how I realized there was a problem, is there is a crack in here. So if you look inside there, the whole piece of this, I guess, gear has actually cracked. And that basically needs to be replaced. What I have over here is on AliExpress. I was able to find a kit that comes with some of these gears, sprockets. I'm not entirely sure what they're really called, but it took about, I'd say about 10 days from when I ordered it to when it came in, and we're going to go through and try to figure out what needs to be done to fix this. The first thing you want to do when you do this is there are 5 screws, so I've already taken them out. There's one here, one here, one here, and then on this side you have one here and one here. They are different sizes, so try to make sure that you keep them separated, just so you don't get confused which one goes where in the future. So after you take those screws out, this back section that has the motor will come apart right from the front section, and you can see here a little bit better that crack is just enormous. It goes all the way through the whole housing. So what I'm going to do is slip this off. Now I have gloves on because this does have grease on it. But if we take a look here, you can see, look, that tooth is gone. There's more tooth damage over here. But if I pull on this, you can actually see the crack right on through. So this gear is pretty much toast. Luckily for me, or actually not luckily for me, before you guys go and order anything, what you want to do is take this apart and count the teeth. You want to count the teeth because different gears have different number of teeth for on the actual gear. You want to make sure you get the right size. This one is a 44 tooth gear, and I don't remember the actual size, but I measured it out before I ordered it. Now this is the new one. Now before I show you, I'm going to put this gear in here. And what should happen is, remember, this is going to get turned by the motor. If you look, you can see that this turns, right? It turns while it's in here because, again, once the motor's in and drives it, it should be able to turn. This is the new gear. Now, the whole thing was white. I did pre-pack it with some grease. I used ball bearing grease. I'm not sure if it's the right kind or not, but it'll do. Now, when I drop this in, what I notice is that when it's fully seated, which it's fully seated now, this thing barely turns. It doesn't really turn. And what it is this little mounting point is catching on this gear here. So if you look really, really closely, you'll see that the gear is not actually fitting, or it's fitting in between snug, but then I can't turn the gear, and I suspect that this mounting point is actually what broke the original gear off. Because if I lift this up, it actually still turns, and it turns nice and smooth inside the housing here. So it's just when it's fully seated down that it binds on this little mounting point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that out, set that gear aside, and I've just got a box cutter, right? A sheetrock knife, and I'm just going to try to cut a little bit of that plastic off of that housing. Now, it would probably be better, safer, and easier to control if I use a Dremel to kind of shave away at it, but I don't have my Dremel handy right now, so I'm going to give this a try and hopefully not record myself slicing a finger off. Which, if you guys are seeing the video, won't have been the case. Now, I'm not cutting it all the way across. I'm just trying to get some of this plastic off of here so that it's not binding. It's not binding on the gear. And I want to make sure I get all of those little plastic pieces out. I don't want to leave anything in here that could get caught or stuck inside the gear itself. So if you look here, I use the knife. You can see I cut just a straight edge off the side there. And let's see if this gear slips in and can spin once I've done that. Okay. Now, you can't see it. It looks like it's spinning, but I can actually feel it still sort of binding on that. Maybe you can hear that. So I'm going to take a little bit more off. And, as I look at it, I can see that it is binding on that. Just remember, anything you cut, anything that comes off, you want to get it out of there, because you do not want anything in here that's going to break off, flake off, anything that's going to cause it to get caught within the actual grease. Take a little bit more off. All right, let's see. Okay, I've gotten 90% of it off. Maybe a little bit smaller of a piece on the bottom here. I got a lot coming off. So if we look here, you can see I've taken quite a bit off of that. edge, and let's see what happens. Just, again, make sure you get all these pieces. You don't want them stuck in there. Grease is a double-edged sword. You catch all the pieces, but they also get stuck inside of whatever you're doing, so... All right, so I think I've gotten everything. Let's drop this in one more time. Oh, smooth. Very smooth, nice and smooth. No binding, no nothing's getting stuck. So I'm pretty sure that was what the problem was with this one. Again, if you look there, you can see the tooth was just snapped completely off. If I drop this in here, again, this one, no binding, nothing getting stuck. So that is pretty much how I would have gone about fixing this. Or not gone about, did go about. I'm doing it now. Fixing it, you can see I do have a spare set of gears. I'm not going to take them out, put them in just to have all new. These are already greased up and they look perfectly fine. To be honest with you, this one, I was a little nervous that this was going to have any problems, but everything looks clean and okay, so I'm not going to mess with that. So I'm going to put my gear on here. It looks like it fits nice and snug. Let's put our cap on, and that's pretty much it. So you can see here that once I screw this in, this will be nice and tight, and we should have a fully functioning gear that is no longer broken. All right, guys, that is very simply put how, not just for the steering, but for any of the axle gears, you would go about replacing any of these. I will put a link in the description to this set on AliExpress that I bought, just so that you guys can have it. And, you know, feel free to put any comments or anything below that, any advice or anything you have for me. All right. Have a good one.